African Diary Show. And you're tuning into the Black House Fire Radio, and you're listening to the African Diary Show with Cathy. Massive.
Muraki aliniambia nikembani na ye ndio tujere na tungevuka hiyo terrain main to the main na kuna mwere anaendelea na tani ndishi kupesa unajua siwezi attain kifua imejaa moshi kila saa nikajibrinza nikana asma nikana kibia mita kila kituoni wanadaimini mzizi nikani lazima kushika mzinga ulikuwa poa before kutinga ulikuwa naokoa ukashindwa kulipa sasa unaroroa unajiona umefika headshot nikanilipa board kupiga hapo ukibonga mbaya unazauliwa pia ukibanja sana utashukiwa tulia usiforce baraka utafikiwa si mganga na roga au unasikiza siwa unalala kwa mtaro na moko Alejandro nasikia una moko kwanza sema no kwanza sema no tuyujinga unapiga simu bila pesa mfukoni ukifika simu you're not performing kwanza sema no kwanza sema no tuyujinga kutumia dondo ukucha unione I'm the wrong don I'm not that lonely hata kama ni show you got nothing on me lisa maniga jijo from Kilifi homie yo Mr. Politician where's the solution kutoka ni kwa newborn same condition no change constitution change ama pollution poor living condition bias distribution flag red is your friend in a way nikisense my sunset mini shazed na mashikisha reno kinisaka Karen when you start when you suck up bench it's special treatment sababu na trend tebu nikuulize wamekuandikia check ni reality check hata ikwantaje unalipiwa rent unaniambiaje unalala kwa mtaro na una moko Alejandro nasikia una moko kwanza sema no kwanza sema no tuyujinga unapiga simu bila pesa mfukoni ukifika simu you're not performing kwanza sema no kwanza sema no tuyujinga unalala kwa mtaro na una moko Alejandro nasikia una moko kwanza sema no kwanza sema no tuyujinga unapiga simu bila pesa mfukoni ukifika simu you're not performing kwanza sema no kwanza sema no tuyujinga.
Yes, a very good afternoon to everyone who is there with us. Karibuni sana to another episode of the African Diary Show. I'm hoping that you're doing great. I hope you're enjoying your Friday so far. And I'm hoping that your Friday is coming along great and good. 21 minutes past 2 p.m. right here in Nairobi. You can as well let me know what is the time on your end as we're getting started with our conversation of today. But before we get to move on, I want to shout out some few people right here with me on TikTok. I see the video is saying, hello, I'm the video Kinyozi Eldoret Kunji stage ya tano na wapata loud and clear. Thank you very much, Davido. I also see Anthony Tyler is with us. He's saying pushing boundaries. Yes. And Karibu sana. Shout out to Icon Kenya, Tina Omosh, and to everyone who is there with us. Shout out to all those who are just joining me from YouTube and also on Facebook. To all those who are with me on the radio station, Karibuni sana as well. I hope you feel free to interact with me, and do remember, we are always live and interactive on our media handles. We are on Facebook, we are on X, we are on Instagram, we are everywhere at Black Hot Fire Network. So you can just find us easily by searching Black Hot Fire Network everywhere you want to find us. Shout out to all those just joining me, and remember, we also have an active WhatsApp number where you can send in your voice notes, your sentiments, your comments, and also everything that you'd love to say to us. So remember, our WhatsApp number is very easy: 0705 428 388 0705 428 388. In case you're joining us for the first time, this is the African Diary Show, and of course, this is the Black Hot Fire Network. And in case you're wondering what is the African Diary Show all about, we talk about what is happening in the beautiful continent of Africa, what is the day-to-day life activities of the beautiful people of Africa, and what's really popping in these beautiful countries of Africa. Most of the time, I get to give you a disclaimer. Most of the things coming from Africa are not lovely to be hearing about, but anyway, we must talk about it. We must call a spade, and we have to talk about all these things happening in Africa. Karibuni sana once again. Remember to keep it interactive, and on today's episode, I want us to focus in to put our focus in Congo. I mean DR Congo, and what is happening in Congo. There's a lot that is happening in Congo. The last time we checked, we had a lot of people being displaced, close to 7 million people being displaced. We left the number at 6.99 million people being displaced, but right now we're seeing a lot of people are still being displaced. The war is still continuing. A lot is happening. Violence is escalating, and this is so sad, and I'm hoping that people will send aid. And I'm looking at my conversation of the day, or the topic, and somewhere I missed some words on the topic. Yeah, I wrote aid group sound alarm over escalating. There was supposed to be the word violence. Yeah, I'll edit that before we get to continue with our show for today. But yes, I'm sorry about that, but I'll get to edit. But our conversation of the day about the escalating violence in Congo. But other than that, we shall be looking at other different matters on what is happening in different African countries. So, karibuni sana once again. Remember to keep it interactive. And one of the matters we shall be talking about is about the U.S. and the Kenyan Defense Minister calling for importance, or saying that it is very important for its security partnership, of which it's very important. I don't disagree with this, but at the end of the day, do you think that these people are looking for what we're looking, or do you think that we have common interest in this? Probably not. Yeah. But anyway, we shall be talking about that. That is one of the things we shall be talking about on today's episode. Other than that, we shall be talking about what is really happening in other African countries. Like in Kenya, I've seen that there has been a floating university back in Kenya for the longest time that I didn't know. And I really want to go to this floating university. But anyway, we shall be also talking about Europe migrant crisis, where we've had 40 Sudanese people and migrating, or 40 Sudanese people migrating in a boat that sank in Tunisia. And we've had now 13 dead and 27 are still missing. And of course, you'll make sure, or you'll find that these people, they are not going to be alive. By the moment we're going to find them, these people are not going to be alive. But anyway, those are some of the discussions we shall be having on today's episode. So be my guest, and remember to keep it interactive with me. We started off our show with an amazing jam. That was Siwa Side. The jam is Semano. I hope you get to jam and to eat. But I'm going back to one more jam. I hope you get to jam and to eat. This is Diamond Platinums featuring Water Killerman. The jam is pounds and dollars. Push me for my body. Don't make me sick from my beat. I want you now. Don't go back it happy. Where we mama, you ain't daddy. Daddy, daddy, Baby, put all your love for me now. Sweet me for party now. Make us spend money now. Put all your love for me now. Sweet me for party now. Make us spend money now. I will take the last for you. I'll take the last for you. And you go make me mine for you. I'll go mine for you. I will take the last for you. I'll take the last for you. And you go make me mine for you. I'll go mine for you. Yes, welcome back. My quote of the day says, don't decide your future, decide your habit, and your habit will decide your future. Don't decide your future, decide your habit, and your habit will decide your future. Baby, put all your love for me now. Sweet me for party now. Make us spend money now. Baby, put all your love for me now. Sweet me for party now. Make us spend money now. I will check the lines for you. Count and the lines for you. And you're gonna make me my for you. I will my for you. I will check the balance for you. Count and balance for you. And you go make me my for you. I will my for you. Yes, welcome back to the African Diary Show. I hope you did get to jump onto that amazing jump. As we get started with our conversation of the day, some time back, I told you that our president right here in the 254, or President William Ruto, was supposed to entertain the Polish president and then head to Japan, where he was supposed to get a lot of money, or he was supposed to be bagging a lot of money for Kenyans as a loan. And yes, he has clearly achieved this, and he bagged 350 billion Kenyan shillings from Japan to finance key projects. And if you look at these projects, I shall be reading for the projects for you, all of them, so that you get to understand what projects I'm talking about. Shout out to Daktooth, Karibu Sana. And financial agreements with worth 350 billion Kenyan shillings have been signed during President William Samoei Ruto's visit to Japan. These agreements will support projects and programs in sector that are aimed at turning around the economic fortunes of the country. What economic fortunes? You mean that now economic fortunes come from loans? This doesn't make sense. But anyway, President William Ruto and Japan's agreement so far is about they signed a partnership powering infrastructure with 350 billion Kenyan shillings, like I said to you, and 250 billion Kenyan shillings is supposed to go to Mombasa Gateway Bridge and the Ndongo Kundu infrastructure ecosystem. Also, we have 15 billion Kenyan shillings supposed to be going to Olkaria geothermal project. And if you look at the geothermal project, this project is the one that gives us electricity. This is where we get our electricity from. And remember, the last time we checked, we had the government privatizing the Kenya electric company, or the powering company. So our electricity, why is he now, or why is he putting money in that side or in the geothermal sector, while we know very well that now this is a private entity, because we know KPLC right now is a private entity. Why is he putting money on that side? Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't even add up. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like he's putting this money on where it's supposed to go, but he's just looking for ways to tell us, I got a loan from Japan, I put it here, and it's doing this and this. Because tell me why you want to fund a private entity with the public money, because the last time we checked, we had the government announcing that they are going to privatize the power supply or suppliers, right, in the Kenyan industry, or the Kenyan power supply in Kenya. So I'm wondering, why is it that now he's putting money on that side? Remember, I told you Olkaria geothermal project is where we get our electricity from. But the Kenyan president is saying that 15 billion of the 350 billion Kenyan shillings he got from Japan is going to go to the Olkaria geothermal project. But remember, he said that he is looking forward to privatize electricity company right here in Kenya. So why is he funding the project that is already private? Doesn't make sense. Also, as we get to continue, we also have 40 billion Kenyan shillings that is supposed to go to Samurai bond to finance various energy and infrastructure projects. That is what he's saying. But also, now look at, we counted 250 billion Kenyan shillings is supposed to go to Mombasa Gateway Bridge. I hope you're counting with me. Plus 15 billion that is supposed to go to geothermal or Olkaria project in Olkaria. Also, we have now on top of that add 40. That is 2. Okay, it is already 305 billion Kenyan shillings, right? That is what we are counting. So on top of that, we have 320 million Kenyan shillings that is supposed to fight, or is supposed to be for El Nino related floods, humanitarian aid. Remember the last time we saw El Nino, remember the last time we saw flooding incidences, we had the government saying very well and clearly that they are not going to fund those affected by El Nino, by floodings. And they said that those people who are getting affected and being carried away by floods, they are actually the ones taking themselves to the flooding areas. And I was like, okay, so this is how you talk to people? After setting aside a sum of money that is supposed to cater for this is how you talk to people? Okay, we're talking about 320 million Kenyan shillings. It has been set aside. And remember, we're talking about a loan that has been taken from Japan. We all gonna pay this loan, but when the floods comes, your Kenyan president tells you, you're actually the ones going, or you're the ones taking yourselves to where the floods are. So I'm not going to cater for that. They say they are not going to compensate anybody affected by flooding. And nobody was compensated. All we saw was the Nairobi government getting motorboats, of which we never saw them in use. And my question was really getting motorboats useful? Was it necessary? It was not. But we actually didn't see these motorboats. So they were invisible motorboats that were bought with the public's fund, but we never saw them. Shout out to Jiba Jaba. Hi to you too, Jiba Jaba, and Karibu Sana. So as we get to continue, we're still counting on the money. We are at 305 billion Kenyan shillings plus 32 million Kenyan shillings. We also have 3 billion Kenyan shillings that is supposed to go to Kemri for Research Center. Okay, these people are supposed to be doing research on forestry and on medicine and everything. But what have they been doing? forcing us to take a lot of nonsense in our bodies. They all come up with an investigation. They say that this medicine is good, you can take it, and the next move we're going to see is us having to take the malaria vaccine. Yeah, that is what is going to happen. But shout out to Jiba Jaba is saying, in the US, they call it a public-private partnership. It always ends in high prices and taxes for the public. This is just crazy. You know, the president came and said he was actually looking for tycoons to own these entities. And he told us, we are looking for ways. To privatize these entities, these public entities. And right now we already know they have new owners. We also saw one of the biggest shareholders sold his shares. We don't know who is the new owner, but we already know that they already have a new owner. So why do you put money or the public money in a place where we know very well this is owned by a private person? Or are you the private person we're talking about right here? You could be the private owner. You could be the new owner of the project, because we don't understand what is really happening. Because I don't understand why you would consider putting public funds, and this was Badi's alone, public funds that you took from Japan, because we're going to pay, this is public funds, of course. We are going to pay as Kenyans. So why would you consider putting it in use in a place where is owned by a private person? It doesn't make sense unless he is the private owner of the KPLC. But I see Jiba Jaba is saying, follow the science. It is safe and effective. I totally agree with you. But also, on the 350 billion Kenyan shillings, 1 billion is supposed to go to production of medical oxygen and various hospitals under UNITAD. Yes, he's talking about production of medical oxygen, of which we buy at a very expensive rate. So if this money is supposed to buy, the oxygen, or is supposed to produce the oxygen that is used by people in hospitals, why do they buy it at a very expensive rate? I bet the prices should go down. Yeah, I bet they should go down. But shout out to Stephens, you're saying who is guilty? Joey is guilty. We shall be talking about that later on the Rhythm Scoop Show. Not right here. Right here, let's be political a little bit. But anyway, shout out to Chamnai as well. Karibuni sana. In case you just joined us, I'm talking about the loan that we got recently. This was the recent loan we took from Japan. This was 350 billion Kenyan shillings. And I'm saying that now I'm talking about how this money is supposed to be divided into different sectors. And one was about the Mombasa Gateway Bridge. That was 250 billion Kenyan shillings. We had 15 billion Kenyan shillings going to Olkaria Geothermal Project. We also have 40 billion Kenyan shillings going to Samurai Bond to finance various energy and infrastructure projects. That's 320 million Kenyan shillings is supposed to cater for El Nino related floods, humanitarian aid. And 3 billion is supposed to go to Cambridge for research center, and we also have 1 billion Kenyan shillings that is supposed to be for production of medical oxygen and various hospitals under UNITAD, and also 30 billion Kenyan shillings is for heavy machinery and mechanized assets for JBIC. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at the end of the day, because I still wonder, why do we need to pay, or why do we need to fund a private entity? It doesn't make sense. But I see Jiba Jaba is saying here, they say partnership will bring jobs, but they never materialize long-term, only short-term construction jobs. It's always like that. It's always like that, Jiba Jaba. Have you not seen the Chinese working on these roads, and they say that this is a source of employment for African people? But most of the people you see there, they're just working as a right hand man, or they're just working like, they're being overworked. They're just working, or they're just being used for what the Chinese men can't do. But it is just crazy. It is so crazy. But I see General Mosquito is saying, shout out to Steppers. General Mosquito is saying hi to you too. He's on YouTube. But I see Jiba Jaba is saying, okay, what's up, General Mosquito? Have a good day. Sister Jewel is with us. Karibu Sana, you're saying history is being repeated in the African Congo under Prince Harry African Park Conservation Project. Lest we forget, remember the heinous maltreatment of the Baka people by Belgium King Leopold. Man, this was crazy. And under the rule of Belgians, people went through shit. And this is just crazy. But anyway, as we get to move on, we were talking about 350 billion Kenyan shillings that has been bagged from the Japanese government, or that has been lended to us, or has been lended to the Kenyan government for infrastructural project. But if you look at this, it doesn't even add up to the mathematics they are doing. And according to what I'm seeing right here, a lot of money is going into waste. A lot of money is going into somebody's pockets. A lot of money, we're going to pay for this, but a lot of it is not going to get to us. Of course, it is not going to get to us. But anyway, away from that, you can talk to me and do let me know what you think about this as we get to continue with our show for today. So moving on from that to other different matters, this is still in Kenya, and Kenya imports from China in rare decline on hard economic times. And I'm wondering, why do we import from China? Why would we want to import from China while we know very well, even when you want to describe something that is bad, that is not good for use, you always use China made. If I want to say your phone is fake, your phone is counterfeit, I just say your phone is China made. If I want to talk about a fake friend, I would just say that China made friend. So why would we want to import from China? It's crazy that these African puppets put us into deals that we don't love. Okay, we are accepting this as African people because we are the ones buying from these Chinese companies. We are the ones buying from their stalls. Right here in Kenya, we have the China Square. We already have 2 branches. They are thriving in Kenya. The next time we shall be seeing they have 5 branches, because we are promoting them. We are the ones buying from them. And why do you think their products are very simple in price? They are very low costly in price because they are China made, because they are counterfeit products. And this is why they find it so very easy to come and dump them in Africa, because they know our puppet presidents will allow this. But I see Steppers is saying he's really traveling a lot. He doesn't love Kenya, and he is defying court on e-citizen and education. Yeah, that's your president. Shout out to Mr. President. That's all he does. That is all he does. But shout out to General Mosquito is saying China-made products are useless. Very true. Very, very true. Just like I'm saying, if you want to talk about some counterfeit products, you will use China in it. And if you want to say something is counterfeit, just use China in it, and people will be like, oh, she's using a China-made phone? That's a counterfeit phone. She's using a China-made laptop? That's a counterfeit laptop. She's using a China-made desktop. That's a counterfeit desktop. So at the end of the day, why would we want to import from China? Why do we love these counterfeit products? Because they always come at a very low price. Go to a China Square right here. Go with your 10,000 Kenyan shillings. You will get things you will not get in any other supermarkets right here or in any other chain store right here. Why? Because their goods are very, very low at price. And this is why we had even our retailers in Nairobi demonstrating about whatever is happening, demonstrating about having China Square, because they are coming, bringing counterfeit products and also selling them at a very low price, and people are able to afford or are able to afford, now leaving the retailers in Nairobi with no customers, of which is very bad. But I'm so happy to see this, that now the decline of imports right here in Kenya, and this is something to be proud of, and I should hope for better. I should hope for more decline in this, because nobody wants to use a China-made phone. Nobody wants to use a China-made laptop. But I see General Mosquito is saying China-made products are useless. Yes, they are. I also see General Mosquito. I also see Jiba Jaba is saying Chinese junk. General Mosquito is saying don't eat anything from China. I'm not trying to. No, I'm not trying to die. But also Jiba Jaba is saying 100% General. Jiba Jaba is saying they use human manure for fertilizer. No cap. Man, that's crazy. It is crazy. But anyway, Kenya's import from China, the country's leading source of goods, recorded a rare decline in 2023, signaling muted consumption during the year amid a high cost of living. Data from General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China, which is Chinese equivalent of the Kenya Revenue Authority, shows that China exported goods worth $7.87 billion, and that is 1.26 trillion Kenyan shillings at current exchange rates to Kenya last year. This marks a decline of 1.11% compared to $7.96 billion that the Asian giant shows it exports to Kenya in 2022. Such a decline is rare, and it's not even pending in the pandemic in 2020. In 2020, during the pandemic in 2020, when global trade ground to a near halt did it occur, according to Chinese customs data. For instance, despite Kenya authorities indicating that imports from China declined from 376.72 billion Kenyan shillings to 2019 to 361.36 billion Kenyan shillings in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. Chinese data shows the country exported goods worth 576 billion Kenyan shillings to Kenya in 2020, an increase from 510.1 billion Kenyan shillings in 2019. And that's something that is good. I believe that we're supposed to be celebrating right here, because at the end of the day, remember, I keep on telling you guys, these people, they come to dump their counterfeit products right here. The rejects. Yeah, they don't keep the bad things in their country. They come to dump right here in Kenya or in Africa. And most of the time, you'll even find cars from China. And you wonder, how did they get to Kenya? They were dumped right here by the Chinese, because they know very well that you are capable of using their counterfeit products. But I see General Mosquito, Jiba Jaba is saying they use human manure for fertilizer. And I also see General Mosquito is saying there is even a Chinatown here in London. What do you mean? Oh, well, I saw the Nigerians celebrating a Chinese celebration. What was the name of this celebration? Man, I saw the city decorated in Chinese attires, Chinese decorations, and I was like, oh no, this is crazy. It is crazy, man. This makes no sense. Where Africans, we are even now putting ourselves to celebrate their celebrations or their occasions. It doesn't make sense. I saw the Nigerians even groomed in Chinese attires, and they want to celebrate those Chinese celebrations. Doesn't make sense. But also, General Mosquito is saying, 10 Speed is saying, I was told African countries was kicking out the Chinese last year. Why did African countries let Chinese in? For what purpose? Well, they came up with a very, very manipulative deals, and they enticed Africans, and with the puppets we have, they were able to get in and thrive in Africa. Yeah. They were able to thrive in Africa. So it is just crazy with what is happening. You know, we even saw some time back, we even saw when they were building us the super highway, we had the road signs in Mandarin. And after that, we had the Kenyan Defense Forces being trained in Mandarin as well, or to speak Mandarin. So it's just crazy. The only thing left is to put us, or it's to put it, or to make it compulsory for every student in school to learn Mandarin, of which is very, very crazy. And shout out to General Mosquito is saying, General, I bet the air smells like dead down there. USA Chinatowns have a full order. It's crazy, man. It is just crazy. But imagine, it's the puppets who allow these people to thrive. Colossal, I don't have your time. You can just leave. And it's just crazy with how these people let the Chinese people, or not even the Chinese only, because we have so many Wazungus who are doing great in Africa. But it's with the aid of these African puppets, especially right here. Look at right here in Africa, right here in Kenya. We owe them a lot. We owe them a lot. 10 Speed, let me tell you, we owe the Chinese a lot. We've taken a lot of money. We've taken a lot of loans from the Chinese. They built us the super highway. They built us the SGR, of which we've not been able to pay up to date. The due date is on April. We're supposed to be paying for the SGR on April. Yet we've not been able to pay them. So they are still going to be here. We owe them. They're still going to remain right here. So they are not going anywhere. And this is just because a puppet leader decided, I'm going to bag a loan from China. Right now, they're taking loans from everyone. We owe the Indians. Imagine, we owe the Indians. Right now, we owe the Japanese. I don't know where we don't owe. We also owe even the Italians. So it's just crazy with what is happening in Kenya, in Africa at large. Because at the end of the day, I believe the same thing. They entice us. In Zimbabwe, we saw the Chinese building a parliament. They have a parliament fully built by the Chinese. So if these people are here to stay, they are not even leaving unless we decide now to chase them out as the civilians, because we have the government who really wants them here. But it's up to us as the citizens to tell them now, go, get out. But the government really wants them here. But I see General Mosquito is saying, okay, General Mosquito is, okay, 10 Speed is saying, so African countries need the manufacturing machinery to abstract its natural resources. We actually do because we don't own any. And this is how these people take advantage of us. This is why the Europeans take advantage of us, because we show them our weakness. And the moment you show your enemy your weakness, they take advantage of that. And also, I see General Mosquito is saying, I believe those Chinese are all government funded to help Europeans take over. Of course. This is why the reason, or this is why their aim when they come to Africa is make sure that we are indebted to them. We owe them a lot so that we cannot get ourselves out. And at the end of the day, they will be able to conquer our African countries. But also you're saying, Those highways were built for themselves to ship and export natural resources and not for the benefit of Africans. Very true. Very, very, very true. Because nobody even uses these expressways. The expressway is very expensive to use. Imagine paying 500 Kenyan shillings. Imagine that is more than $2 for just. That is not even a day. That is one toll station. So if you pay for one toll station, that is more than, you will use up to $10 a day. Who is able to pay that amount of money? Nobody, man. Nobody. I'd rather use the normal roads than use the expressway. But anyway, that is what is happening. And moving on to other different matters. I don't want to skip this. Okay, I really wanted to talk about the floating university, but in case I'm not able to talk about it right now, I will be able to talk about it on the next episode of the Rhythm Scoop Show. But I want us to talk about migrants, Sudanese migrants being killed. And did I lose it? Okay, let me try and find it real quick as we get to continue, because I've seen we are losing our people. Imagine these people. Yeah. So we have a Europe migrant crisis, and this is not the first time we've had our people being killed, being banned from entering Europe. You remember Tunisia getting some amount of money to bar us from getting to Europe. And right now, there has been a boat that sank off in Tunisia with more than 40 Sudanese on board. And remember, these Sudanese were fleeing from their country because their country is war-torn. And at least 13 Sudanese migrants have died, and 27 others are missing after their boat sank off Tunisia's coast. A Tunisian official said only 2 people on board survived, while search operations were underway for those missing, he added. It is the latest disaster to hit migrants trying to cross the Mediterranean from Africa to Europe. And this is crazy because knowing very well that these people don't want us in Europe, they are capable of even sinking the ship. Yeah, it's not the first time we are hearing this. And also, knowing very well that the Tunisians, there was a time, and I reported this, they were paid to bar migrants or African migrants to enter Europe. And after that, this is what the Europeans, or in the UK, they came up with a floating prison where now the migrants will be put in if they manage to cross to the Europe. So right now we have a ship that has sunk, and it's crazy that these people were migrants from Africa. So it's clearly showing that these people sank the boat or the ship, because it doesn't add up for me to just assume that the ship sank on itself. They would do anything just to make sure that you Africans don't get to Europe. But Sudan plunged into the civil war about 10 months ago, forcing at least 9 million people to flee from their homes. Some foreign governments, including the UK's, evacuated their nationals trapped in Sudan after fighting broke out between the army and a rival paramilitary force last April. In total, 2,498 migrants died in 2023 trying to cross the central Mediterranean, a 75% increase on the previous year, according to the International Organization for Migration. Last year, the European Union signed a deal with Tunisia to tackle irregular migration. And this is the deal I'm talking about. They were paid to make sure that there are no Africans passing through Tunisia to the European or to the European countries or to Europe. So most of the time, you would wake up to a lot of number of Africans found dead in Tunisia, and their bodies were just scattered on the roads. They would not tell you the cause of their death. But if you look at this, if you look at onto this, you'll find that these people are being killed by the Tunisians because the Tunisian government has signed a deal with the European Union to bar Africans from entering the Europe. So it is just crazy to assume that the boat sank itself or just sank. You know, it is just crazy to assume and think that it sank by its own. But I see, General Mosquito is saying, 10 Speed is saying, this is why there needs to be one African language and one African state, government, and army. Very true. I totally agree with this, because at the end of the day, we really need Africans to come together. And you know, the reason they are killing us right now is because we are not together. But it is just very sad knowing that now the only place we can run to, we are not wanted. But this is not the only place we can run to. This is not the only place we can run to. Remember, we have so many African countries where we can run to. So going to a place you know very well that you're not wanted is crazy. But the deal includes $118 million to stop smuggling, strengthening borders, and return migrants. You see, this is the deal I was talking about, and that's the time we were seeing a lot of dead bodies in Tunisia. We could see a lot of dead bodies in Tunisia, others on the wall, you know. And the latest disaster took place after the boat left Jebiniana, a small town near the city of Sfax, and a judicial spokesperson in Tunisia, in the Tunisian city of Monastir, Farid Ben, said an investigation was underway into the incident. Of course, there is no investigation that is underway. Those are African lives that don't matter to them. So there is no investigation that is underway, and they are actually just happy you died, you didn't survive. That's it. They're just happy that you died and you didn't survive. But the migrants were likely to have been exploited in a human trafficking case or the information of a criminal group to reach Europe illegally. He was quoted by AFP news agency as saying. So it is just crazy. It is just sad with what is happening to African people. But at the end of the day, African people, just stop going to where you're not wanted. There are so many places you can just go to. You know, it is just sad to see that now African people are focused on running to countries that they know very well these people don't want us there. But at the end of the day, all we can ask is for peace to return in Sudan. We don't want them migrating and leaving their country behind, going and getting killed in places where they are not wanted, because we are losing them. We're losing a lot of Sudanese people. Yesterday I was talking about the number of people we've had dead since the war escalated. And this is not only the war between the military and the paramilitary forces. We have ethnic violence. We have border violence between the two countries, South Sudan and Sudan. And we're losing people every day. Now imagine losing the people in the war and also losing people because they were not wanted in Europe. Man, I'd rather die in Africa sometimes. It is better to die on your own land than to die in a land of the unknown, or in a land that you're not known by anyone. And actually those people didn't want you there at first. This is why they wanted you dead. But anyway, at the end of the day, this violence that is in Sudan should stop and should come to an end, because it's not right to see what is happening in Sudan. But moving on to other different matters, let's talk about what is happening in Congo, DRC Congo. And we have had a lot of people fleeing from their homes. And this is not the first time I'm reporting this, but thousands have fled their homes as fighting intensifies in Goma. Yes, I know this is not the first time we're talking about what has been happening in Goma. We've talked about 6.99 million people getting displaced, almost 7 million, and right now I know the number is at 7 million point something people displaced in Congo. And this is what we're talking about. Violence in Africa is leading us to losing so many people. Imagine, it's leading us to having people migrating to places where they are not wanted and they end up dying in very bad conditions. But thousands of people are fleeing their homes in the towns and villages surrounding Goma as clashes between the Congolese army and the M23 rebel escalates, seeking refuge in the bustling city where the conflict has also reached unsettling proportions. Goma, the largest town in the area and home to a significant Congolese army presence, has become the focal point of this mass exodus. Residents of the neighboring villages like Olive Luanda from Sake recount harrowing scenes of soldiers abandoning their post, prompting civilians to flee in fear of advancing M23 fighters. Soldiers warned us that the M23 rebels were advancing and we had no choice but to flee, shared Luanda, highlighting the sudden and desperate nature of the displacement. Despite the others' journey to Goma, which can take up to 5 hours on foot, from Sake, the safety of the city is far from guaranteed. Recent days have seen rockets raining down on the city's outskirts, albeit causing no casualties, underscoring an indiscriminate nature of conflict's reach. Alain Buama, a 29-year-old resident, forced to abandon his home in Sake encapsulated the profound sense of uncertainty and displacement gripping the fleeing population. We fled Sake because we fear for our lives. He expressed laden with the belongings as he sought refuge in Goma. The city is under attack and we are left with nowhere to go. Inability of Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi to quell the violence despite his re-election in December has raised doubts about the government's capacity to restore peace. Analysts point to the Tshisekedi's ongoing struggle to fulfill promises of stability in the region, excavating the plight of civilians caught in the crossfire. Accusations leveled against Rwanda for providing military support to the M23 rebels further complicate the situation, with the United Nations echoing Tshisekedi's claims despite Rwanda's vehement denial. As the conflict escalates and displacement surge, the future remains uncertain for the people of Goma and its surrounding areas, trapped in a cycle of violence with no end in sight. This is so sad, hearing what is happening in Congo, and this is not the only place we are supposed to be talking about. Imagine, we've had so many wars on African countries. We've had Sudan, we've had Congo, we have Ethiopia, we also have Somalia. We have so many African countries that are war-torn. But what is leading this war, or who is funding this war? Remember, the last time we checked in Congo, we had Kagame being accused of funding the M23 rebel. But if you look at the accusation, it might be true, but at the end of the day, he's not doing this alone. He's also doing this. Man, this reminds me of what the Houthi fighters are doing in the Red Sea or on the Red Sea. Imagine African people, if we come together, we unite, we could do the same thing to these people who are destabilizing our countries. Imagine if only we could unite. If only we could decide to work as brothers and sisters, we could do just what the Houthi fighters are doing. We don't require a lot of weapons. We don't require a lot of technology. Imagine the US with the technology they have, not the Chinese, the UK with the technology they have. We have the Houthi fighters defeating them. It's only unity. And right now, I believe we have lost almost everything. We've lost even dignity to these people. What more do we have to lose? Man, we need to fight for our countries. Not maybe for us, but maybe for the future generations. Because at the end of the day, we can't keep on going like this. People being displaced, they don't know peace. There are children who are born in Congo, they've never seen peace. They are always migrating. Their parents are always carrying them on their backs. Imagine. This is so sad. It is so sad. But imagine if we come together as African people, strategize, have a good plan. Look at what the Houthis are just doing on the Red Sea. We could just do the same. Imagine. And I'm telling you, right now, we've lost everything to these people. And they are still destroying us. What more do we have to lose? I bet nothing. If it's our lives, I bet it's okay for the future then. You know, maybe we're not doing this for us, but we can do this maybe for the future. Look at our ancestors. They were fighting for independence for us. Independence of which they never enjoyed because of them. Most of them got killed. But right now, we at least enjoy a little bit of independence. At least right now, we are not paying hard tax to the whites. You know. So at the end of the day, my people, it's all about us as African people right here. Coming together, uniting, strategizing, and attacking these people. If it's losing, we don't have anything more left to lose. We've lost everything to these people. I don't think we have anything left to lose to them. But I see 10 Speed is saying this is why we need one African language and one African state government and army. Juba Jaba is saying you are correct, Katie. Thank you very much. Sister Jewel is saying, Katie, the Baka people spokesperson said his people is being violently forced out from their forest, woodland, and into Europe. He's confirming that there is a continental swap going on for Africa. This is just crazy. Now, they are forcing us out of Africa to Europe, and then when you get there, they get to kill you. This is just crazy. It is just crazy. Jiba Jaba is saying information on Congo is needed. Few networks report on the conflict. But at least I try and get to give you what I get, because most of the time you don't get information on what is really happening in the country. But I see 10 Speed is saying, is there one or any African country independent of the Chinese or European control? At least one. Yes, we have, but let me tell you one thing. If now it's so sad. This is so sad, 10 Speed, because if I'm not being controlled by the Chinese, I'm being controlled by a different power. You know, like the way we had the French in Mali, Burkina Faso. It's like that. Those people were free from the Chinese, but they were not free from the French. So it's always like this. So you'll find we don't have the Chinese maybe in let me just give an example, maybe in Senegal, but you'll find the French. Of course, there's French in Senegal. Yes. So we don't have the Chinese in Senegal, but we have the French. So it's always like this. But I see Jiba Jaba is saying, right, the Houthis are committed. We can as well be committed like the Houthis. We can fight what is ours. We can show them you're not who you think you are. Imagine we can show them that. We just need to unite. We just need to work together as African people and just tell them, you're not who you think you are. And with that, they will be able to leave our countries and we will be able to be free again. I think that's what we need as African people. But anyway, family, we are coming to the end of our show for today. Asanteni sana for being with us on today's episode. I hope you did get to enjoy our conversation of the day. And shout out to all those who are just joining us. Shout out to Chere Mula. I see you and thank you very much for the follow. Nicholas Wambua, shout out to you and to the rest of the silent listeners we've had on today's episode. Shout out to Gabu as well. Karibu sana and Asante sana for being with us on today's episode. I see 10 Speedy saying, like Black Americans, we always act like we can't exist without including other peoples. This is just crazy. It is so sad, and with that mentality, we will not move. With that mentality, we will never move. But I see Jiba Jaba, you're saying, great message, Katie. Take care. Thank you very much, Jiba Jaba. Take care as well. Hope to see you later on the other episode of the Rhythm Scoop Show. Really enjoy the rest part of your day. I'm leaving you with this jam. This is Diamond Platinums featuring Water Killerman. The jam is pounds and dollars. Hope you get to enjoy the rest part of your day. But don't forget to join us later on the next episode of the Rhythm Scoop Show.
Greetings and salutations, Massive News Manager Robinson, all the way in Switzerland. And you're tuning into Fire Radio. And you're listening to
I want you now. Don't go daddy.
When we mama ni we daddy.
Daddy,
Baby, put on your love for me now.
sweetly for my